Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot. My name is Tom. Today is Sunday, March the 10th. It is the day of Fastlane, the last WWE pay-per-view before WrestleMania. And want to thank everybody for listening and subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever you find your podcasts at. Hope everybody's following on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We just passed 1,000 Twitter followers this week, so thank you to everybody, all the new followers on Twitter, and hope everybody is checking out the show. Hope everybody's enjoying it, because I'm definitely having a great time putting it together for you guys. And as always, if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. Feel free to leave me any questions, comments, anything you'd like to hear me talk about on the show, what you like, what you don't like. Anything at all. I'm glad to glad to hear anything from all of you guys. So, like I said, feel free to drop an email, drop comments on social media, shoot me a tweet, whatever. I'd love to hear from any of you guys. So a lot of stuff going on around wrestling this week, not just in WWE, but that's where we're going to start. On Monday Night Raw, we saw, I guess you could say, the official reunion of the Shield with Rollins, Reigns, and Ambrose at the end of the show. Looks like they've got a little program going on with Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. I'll get into some more of that a little bit later when I'm talking about the Fastlane pay-per-view coming up. I've also got a new United States champion on the SmackDown side in Samoa Joe. Rumor is that WWE is going to start kind of pushing the U.S. title a little bit harder. There hasn't been a whole lot of real big storylines surrounding the U.S. title for quite some time. So hopefully that rumor is true. And what the word going around is that for the United States Championship at WrestleMania, it's going to be Samoa Joe versus John Cena. Now, of course, Cena's rumored opponent for WrestleMania was originally Lars Sullivan, but with what's been going on with him and not being able to do TV and things like that because of his rumored anxiety issues and things like that, apparently it's going to be Samoa Joe and John Cena. Should be a great matchup. Definitely puts the U.S. title in a pretty good spot. So hopefully, like I said, that is true. On the NXT side, looks like Tommaso Ciampa is going to be out for quite some time. He underwent neck surgery this past week and rumored to be out for up to a year. So that's very unfortunate with Ciampa being the NXT champion, but also just because, he is the top guy in NXT, champion or not. He is their, in my opinion at least, I think a lot of people's opinions, the number one guy on the NXT brand. So be interesting to see how they're going to handle that going forward. The rumored match for NXT TakeOver on WrestleMania weekend was supposed to be Ciampa versus Gargano for the NXT title. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. And, they've only got, I think, one more set of TV tapings before then, so it'll be interesting to see how that's going to play out. Are they going to do some type of tournament format? Or are they just going to pick, like, maybe the top 3-4 contenders and do a fatal four-way or a triple threat match? We'll have to see how that goes. Going back to Raw, Triple H cut a promo on Batista. Of course, the previous week on Raw is when we saw Batista attack Ric Flair. Well, we didn't see the attack. It was behind closed doors, obviously, but Triple H's response was this past week on Raw. Cut a really, really good promo on Batista. Just a lot of emotion, and they're really building this up. Obviously, it's going to be a WrestleMania match. Batista is supposed to be at Raw tomorrow night, so we'll see how things go on that end with the build towards WrestleMania. I know, there's quite a few people online who are not happy about this match. Triple H and Batista, we've obviously seen it, quite a bit in the past, but it's WrestleMania, guys. There's always going to be those kind of special attraction matches like this with the legends or Hall of Famers or whatever they might be. And, Triple H and Batista are two pretty good ones, I would think. So, it's going to be a good match either way it goes. I personally am excited about it. So, it's kind of, it's a novelty thing is what it is. Seeing the big names from the past coming back for the kind of a one-off appearance. I don't know if Batista's going to be around after WrestleMania or if it is exactly what I just said, a one-off. But, it's definitely something that I like and that I'm paying attention to. Some stuff with the NXT call-ups that received so much hype when the McMahons were out talking about, oh, you're going to see new superstars and new rivalries and stuff. They really hyped the debuts of EC3 and Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans and Heavy Machinery, and really haven't seen too much of them. I mean, EC3 made his first TV appearance this past week on Raw in, I want to say, about a month or so, and again, he still has not spoken. Excuse me. He, and I'd say of that particular group of call-ups, he's the best talker out of any of them, and they've yet to let him utter a single word on TV. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on. I mean, we saw him in a backstage segment with the Saturday Night Live guys that are going to be the quote-unquote special correspondents at WrestleMania. So I guess, I guess we'll have to see where that goes. I mean, at least he was shown, but it was basically just him standing there in front of a mirror. So not really too sure where they're going. Rumor is Vince McMahon's not real high on him. I can't imagine why. Great in-ring performer, great talker. So we'll have to see where that goes. And as far as the other call-ups, again, like Lars Sullivan hasn't even made an appearance on TV. We've only seen vignettes. Now, in his case, the rumor is he had a severe anxiety attack when he was supposed to make his TV debut, which speaking firsthand, I understand what that's like. So if that's the case, hopefully it's something he's able to work through and manage. Supposedly Vince McMahon is still very high on him. He's still in line for a decent push whenever he is ready to make his debut. So that's something to keep an eye on. Nikki Cross, I mean, she's had a couple of matches, but no real storylines since she's been brought up, and she's another one who hasn't been on TV in a little while. Heavy Machinery has been, involved in the tag team picture on Raw predominantly, but no real storylines, and they're being made out to be not 100% a comedy act. I mean, their backstage vignettes and promos and stuff have been more on the comedic side, but in the ring they've been, pretty much the same Heavy Machinery that we always saw in NXT, so that's at least one positive for them. And Lacey Evans has really just been kind of coming out, walking to the ring and walking to the back, almost like she's walking a fashion runway or something like that. So, and rumors with Lacey are that she's going to be pushed as the top superstar in the women's division. I'm guessing, hopefully after WrestleMania we'll see something with a little more substance with all of these NXT call-ups, because, I mean, obviously they're all extremely good performers, or they, wouldn't have been called up, I wouldn't think, but who knows, what do I know? But, so I'm thinking, we just kind of need to have a little bit of patience and see where they're going to go with these guys after WrestleMania. Now, if they continue the same kind of thing and aren't really making too good a use out of them, I got to wonder, why were they brought up in the first place? Some other news on the WWE side is that Fandango is almost ready to come back to action. Of course, he's been out with an injury for quite a while, and I'm interested to see how they're going to bring him back. Are they going to bring him back and put him right back with Tyler Breeze as the fashion police, or Breezango, or whatever you want to call him, or is he going to be more of a singles wrestler when he comes back? So, and what kind of position are they going to put him in? I mean, the tag team division, I think, definitely could use Breeze and Fandango back in the mix. I mean, they're a great team. Again, kind of a comedy act, but in the ring, there's not too many that are better than either one of them. So we'll have to see how that one plays out as well. WWE made the big announcement this week that next year's WrestleMania 36, is going to be held in Tampa, Florida. No real big surprise there. I mean, WWE, has a huge presence in Florida, so they've done a lot of WrestleManias there, and they're doing it from the stadium where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play, which a big part of the decor in that stadium is a huge pirate ship, and of course, when the Bucs play there, every time they score a touchdown, they fire off the cannon, things like that. And I know my thought, and a lot of people online have been saying the same thing, they need to incorporate that ship somehow, especially if Kairi Sane is on Raw or SmackDown by that point. If you don't incorporate that in some way or another into her entrance, that it's a lost opportunity. So hopefully, somebody in WWE has thought of that. I mean, that would be probably one of the highlights of the night if they could work that into a big Kairi Sane entrance for either a Raw or a SmackDown title match. Speaking of the women's division, rumor is for WrestleMania this year, the women's tag team championship is going to be defended in a four-corner match, and this goes back to what I talked about last week with the women's tag team titles being defended across all brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. The rumor is that Bayley and Sasha will be defending against three teams, one from Raw, one from SmackDown, one from NXT. I would think the Raw team would probably be Nia Jackson, Tamina. SmackDown team, probably, my guess would be Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. And NXT, I think a good choice would be Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. And it would also play on that element of the four horsewomen. So we'll have to see what announcements are coming with that, and the WrestleMania card is definitely going to start taking shape over the next couple of weeks once Fastlane is over and done with. Some interesting contractual news, or rumor, I should say, not news, rumor, is that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson have turned down multi-million-dollar contract extensions with WWE, and of course, first thing that comes to everybody's mind is that they're going to be showing up in AEW once their current contracts are done with, which supposedly is this coming September. That wouldn't be a huge surprise. I mean, of course, they do have connections to the Elite guys with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks being former members of the Bullet Club, so something to keep an eye on. Of course, Gallows and Anderson have not been real visible lately as far as TV time, so it really doesn't surprise me that they would turn down that offer from WWE. When they first came in, made the jump from New Japan, they were pushed pretty good, and then just kind of dropped off shortly after that. Who knows? They could end up back in New Japan, back with the Bullet Club or against the Bullet Club. Who knows? But they definitely have options out there. I mean, the rumors have been going for quite a while that New Japan was interested in bringing them back, so it wouldn't be a surprise for them to show up there or in AEW. So we'll have to see come September, October where the Good Brothers land. Some other news that was broken last week is that Tori Wilson is being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, and a lot of stuff going online about is she deserving of it, and talking about her being brought in as a single, but China's being brought in as part of DX. And I mean, as far as that part of it goes, I look at it as a Hall of Fame ring is a Hall of Fame ring. The Hall of Fame ring that goes to China's family is not going to say DX on the inside of it. It's going to say Joni Lauer, or it's going to say China, whatever they choose to put in there. So whether she's going in as part of DX or whether she's going in on her own, she's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know. I personally don't understand why people are so up in arms about it. I mean, yes, China absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and she will be. How she goes in, to me, is irrelevant. The fact is she's in, and not in the legacy wing or just as like an honorable mention type of thing. She is being honored at the Hall of Fame as part of D-Generation X, and every one of those guys is going to have something great to say about her, whether it's Shawn Michaels or X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, even Triple H. I think they're gonna pay good tribute to China, and I know her family is happy that this is happening, so that's really all that matters. As far as Tori Wilson goes, she was a big part of the Attitude Era. Yes, she was part of that era where women's matches were not taken so seriously, part of with the bra and panties matches and Santa's Little Helper and the pudding matches and all this kind of ridiculousness. But that is part of the group that kind of started trying to push for change in the women's division, and to listen to people like Jim Ross or Fit Finlay, Tori Wilson worked her tail off to learn the business, to learn the craft, to become a better wrestler. She really didn't have too much to say about storylines that she was thrown in, so you can't put that blame on her, like, oh, she only ever wrestled in bra and panties matches. Well, that wasn't exactly her choice. I'm sure if it was up to her, she would have loved to have more serious matches against people like Trish Stratus and Lita and things like that. Unfortunately, it just wasn't, that's not how things worked out. But she was a big part of the Attitude Era. She was a face of the company. She, was somebody that a lot of people followed her career, and I'm sure a lot of those were 18 to 25-year-old males like myself at that time. But it is what it is, guys. But she, you can't say she's undeserving of recognition. Same thing if they were to put in Stacy Keibler. Those are two names. They weren't wrestlers. They didn't start off as wrestlers. They started off as eye candy, as the pretty face. But they put in the work to learn what they were doing in that ring. So I have no problem with Tori going into the Hall of Fame. But I am, sometime in the next couple of weeks, I don't know if it's going to be in 2 weeks, possibly 3 weeks, I'm going to go through, I'm going to have a show dedicated pretty much to the Hall of Fame, going through who's in, who should be in according to, online buzz and things like that, and my own personal opinions as well. So it should be, I'm going to, kind of get into more detail about that, and just all because the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame specifically, is a pretty hot topic. It seems like people either love it or they hate it, and so I'm gonna dig into that a little bit deeper in a few weeks here. Some news out of New Japan: Jushin Thunder Liger announced that he will be retiring this coming January after the Tokyo Dome show on January 4th. Yeah, and if any of you guys are not familiar with Jushin Thunder Liger, go out of your way to find some of his matches. One of the best cruiserweights, light heavyweights, whatever you want to call it, one of the best of all time, if not the best of all time in that particular division. I believe he's an 11-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He's pretty much the standard bearer for that division in New Japan, and he had a very long career, and it looks like as of this coming January 4th, 2020, that career will be coming to an end. So definitely well deserved, and just like I said, one of the all-time greats in general, and probably the best ever cruiserweight. Some news out of MLW: Jim Cornette is a new commentator for MLW. He's kind of filling in for Tony Schiavone. Of course, Tony Schiavone has about 25 different jobs, and it's getting into baseball season. He does work for the Atlanta Braves minor league team, so he's not available as much for MLW as he was during the baseball offseason. So Jim Cornette is taking his spot on commentary and also working in a backstage capacity, apparently in creative. So it's great pickup for MLW. In Impact Wrestling, report is that Lance Storm has been hired by Impact in their creative department. So, another good pickup for them. Impact is just seems to be building and building up a great creative team. They've got great wrestlers on their roster. They've, re-signed a few guys in the last month or so to long-term contracts. So, Impact is definitely moving in the right direction. So hopefully they're able to, the only place where they're really lacking is their TV viewership, and it's because they're on kind of an obscure channel that not a lot of people get, and not a lot of people want to go on Twitch to watch Impact, which I don't understand why. I mean, I watch it on Twitch because I don't get Pursuit, and there's no commercials. You can interact with other people watching it if you choose to, but you don't have to. You don't even have to look at the chat rooms, like I said, there's no commercials, and during the TV breaks, there's usually either Melissa Santos or somebody is kind of talking to the fans, talking about the show, talking about upcoming events and things like that. So I honestly like watching Impact on Twitch. Jim Ross confirmed on his podcast this past week that his WWE contract is ending as of March 29th, so just in a couple of weeks here. And of course, the rumors started running rampant at that time that he's going to be signing on with AEW to a pretty big contract. I mean, the rumor is that he's going to be getting over $1 million a year, and will be working as their basically their lead announcer, which JR did say he still wants to do play-by-play for wrestling. He says he still loves it. He thinks he can still do it, which, I mean, it's JR. Of course he can still do it. That's just not something that you lose. He's the best announcer of all time. And, if it's true that he ends up with AEW, then they have, they've secured the best announcer in the game. And, props to them. It'd be cool to see JR on TV every week again. Another pretty cool bit of information here, and this one's not a rumor because this actually came directly from JR on his podcast, that he is working on a new podcast with Conrad Thompson, kind of the guru of wrestling podcasts. He's the the number one guy in that genre, and basically the way he put it is that that new show would be replacing JR's current show. And, I think it'll be cool. JR does a great podcast. Conrad does a few great podcasts. So the two of them together, I can't see that as being a bad thing. And I'm kind of wondering, would that show also kind of replace Bruce Pritchard's podcast? I'm sure everybody knows by now Bruce is back with WWE in a creative role, kind of back to being Vince's right-hand man, if you believe the online rumor and innuendo, quote-unquote. So, I got to wonder, is he still going to be able to do his podcast? They haven't really said anything about it on the Something to Wrestle With podcast with Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson. But when it was first announced that Bruce was going back to WWE, Conrad kind of, they didn't say it outright, but they kind of dropped some hints that, Bruce's podcast would be coming to an end. So we'll have to see how that works, and see if the podcast with Conrad and JR is going to kind of be taking that one's place. Some more news from Impact. A pretty good match announced for next week. Number one contenders for the Knockout Championship. Jordynne Grace is going to be facing Tessa Blanchard. This is a match that I personally have been wanting to see. That I would definitely say they're the two top women in Impact, along with Taya Valkyrie, the Knockouts champion. So it should be a great match with these two. Something else in the rumor mill here is Shane Strickland signing with NXT. Now that's, again, rumor, not confirmed, nothing put out there by WWE, but Strickland did wrestle his final match for Defy last night, gave his farewell speech and things like that, and said he was basically said moving on to bigger and better things. So of course people take that to mean WWE now. Supposedly WWE has been interested in Strickland for a while, but he wasn't able to sign with WWE because of his Lucha Underground contract. Now, of course, he has performed on Lucha Underground the last few years as a masked wrestler named Killshot, and it's kind of the same situation that Ricochet was in. WWE, had wanted to sign him, I want to say about 2 years before he actually was able to. But, he was prohibited from it because of his Lucha Underground contract, where he wrestled under a mask as Prince Puma. So, if Strickland has signed with NXT or is going to sign with NXT, I'm sure that's something we'll hear about probably, I would say, after WrestleMania, but who knows? If the deal gets done before then, I'm sure we'll know about it as soon as WWE is ready to tell us if there's anything to tell. Some more injury news from WWE. Luke Harper made his return at a live event last night in New York. So, good news there. It looks like the Bludgeon Brothers tag team is done, unfortunately, because I was a big fan of that team with Harper and Rowan, but Rowan now is with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, so we'll have to see how Luke Harper is positioned. Wouldn't expect to see him on TV really until after WrestleMania. You may see him in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I think that would be kind of anticlimactic. I mean, a guy like Harper, I think you would want to, put a spotlight on his return in some way or another. Maybe that's, who knows, maybe bring him back and put him in a program with Rowan, and make it about, why didn't you wait for me to come back? Why'd you break up our team? Or who knows? I mean, but I would definitely put some kind of spotlight on it, because Harper, just a big monster type guy, and can really move in that ring. So hopefully he's not just kind of slipped back in, into SmackDown without any kind of fanfare. Some interesting stuff going on online. I'm sure pretty much everybody has seen by now. Nia Jax really ripped into Dave Meltzer yesterday on Twitter because of some comments that Meltzer had made about Roman Reigns and his leukemia treatments. I'm not going to get into the details because I did not hear or read the full article or the full broadcast of what Meltzer said. I heard a small snippet of it, so out of context. But the way it was presented, if it the way it was presented, the way that it came off was not good. I don't think Meltzer was intentionally, I don't think he was being malicious, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I'm not defending Meltzer. I'm not a fan of Meltzer. I think he's really not that different from any other wrestling journalist, quote unquote. 99% of what he puts out there is his own opinion. Like his star ratings, it's his opinion. The thing is, so many people follow him and take his word as truth that if he were to say some of the things that were being implied that he said, it's a lot different than just your basic internet troll having something negative to say about Roman Reigns. It could just do, it's a lot more damaging than just your standard internet troll, BS. But Nia Jax definitely ripped him a new one, and of course Meltzer didn't issue an apology for anything he said, but he did backpedal a little bit, said that he misspoke or was misinformed or however he put it. But so hopefully, like I said last week, I think all this stuff about Roman is going to die down, and I actually went online earlier this week because I let myself get sucked into it and get into some back and forth with some stupid people online, and honestly, it's not even something I should get myself into because nobody has any business commenting on it, is bottom line. And so I deleted tweets, Facebook exchanges, things like that with the naysayers and everything like that, because it's not worth it. And to anybody, if any of you guys that follow me on Twitter or on Facebook happen to see any of it, and if it made anybody uncomfortable, or because I know I hate seeing stuff like that. I don't like reading it. I scroll past it because it gets under my skin, and like I said, I let myself get sucked in, and it's wrestling, guys. It's supposed to be fun, and when real life storylines get involved, everybody's got something to say, and they really shouldn't let these guys have their own lives. And if they choose to let us have a peek behind the curtain at what's going on with them in real life, we should be honored that they're doing that they care enough to tell their fans what's going on in their real life. So beyond that, I am done with the Roman Reigns thing. Like I said, I took down all of the negativity, the tweets and Facebook posts and everything like that, because I'm going to steal a quote from JR here. There's no room in my carry-on for negativity. So, as far as Roman Reigns goes, I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's healthy, and I hope he stays that way for a long time to come. And that's the end of that. So, another interesting WrestleMania rumor that's out there, and this is exactly that. It is a rumor because there is no kind of citations or anything to back this up, but the rumor is WrestleMania this year is going to have 16 matches. If that's the case, I think we're looking at another 7-hour show here, but that wouldn't be a big surprise. I don't know if there'll be quite that many matches, but you figure they're going to have all the titles defended. There's going to be the 2 battle royals, so I could possibly see that happening. And I wanted to make mention, this coming Friday, March 15th, I will be attending Warrior Wrestling 4 here in Chicago. Warrior Wrestling, for those of you that might not be familiar, is an independent promotion here in Chicago. They run shows on actually in the south suburbs of Chicago, about an hour outside the city, or not outside the city, but an hour from where I live in the city. And it looks like it's shaping up to be a great show. We've got some huge matches, actually. OVE versus SCU, so that should be a great 6-man tag team match. Jordan Grace is defending the Progress Women's Championship against Lisa Marie Verone, formerly known as Victoria in WWE, and Tara in Impact. LA Park versus Sam Adonis. Austin Aries versus Eddie Edwards in what's being called a pure wrestling match. I'm looking at that one to steal the show. The Warrior Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, current champion is Brian Cage, and he's going to be in a four-corner match against Trey Miguel, Desmond Xavier, and Zachary Wentz. Britt Baker defending the Freelance Championship against Kylie Ray, two AEW competitors there. Brian Pillman Jr. taking on Robert Anthony. Moose versus Wardlow. DJZ versus Sammy Guevara. That should be a ridiculous match with those two guys. Then we've got a six-person match. I guess what WWE would call a six-pack challenge. Not a six-man tag team, but, every man for himself here. Rich Swann, Andrew Everett, Gringo Loco, Bryce Benjamin, and Isaias Velasquez. Oh, and Matt Nix as well. So should be an interesting match there. Then Ethan Page and the Space Pirates in a six-man tag team match versus Hornswoggle, Congo Kong, and Jungle Boy. Now, I'm wondering if Jungle Boy is going to be on the show, given that his father, Luke Perry, did pass away this past week, unfortunately. Wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't there, and I don't think anybody would blame him if he wasn't able to make the show. I mean, obviously family comes first always, so if he is there, then that just shows an amazing work ethic on his part. But if he's not there, I don't think anybody's going to have anything negative to say about it. So it should be a great show. I'm hoping to get a lot of pictures. I will be checking out the VIP meet and greets before the show. So I'm hoping to get a lot of pictures with some of the wrestlers if possible. And I'll definitely be posting those online. So keep an eye out for it. Probably the biggest story this week has been the heel turn by Ronda Rousey this past Monday on Raw. Came out, cut a scathing promo on Stephanie McMahon and Charlotte and Becky Lynch and the WWE Universe, basically kind of quote-unquote breaking kayfabe and things like that. And, I thought it was great. I mean, she, in one promo, she, to me, completely turned herself around because she showed that fire, that intensity. It seemed real, it seemed organic. And, to me, this is the kind of thing they should have done with Roman Reigns years ago. WWE, they saw the fans turning on her and they rolled with it. And they, made her probably the most hated heel in the company right now. And truthfully, I love it. It's great. I think it gets people more emotionally invested in that storyline. This is your WrestleMania main event storyline, guys. So, they're pushing it hard, and I think they're pushing it the right way at this point. So, with the everything Ronda's been posting on like Twitter and YouTube and things like that, just completely just bashing the WWE and the WWE fans. I mean, honestly, think about it. This is something that years ago they could have gone the exact same way with Kurt Angle coming, from the Olympics. He could have cut the exact same promo his first year in the business and, gotten the exact same kind of reactions, and people would have went nuts for it. So, I think a lot of people are kind of taking this one too seriously. They're like, oh, she's hurting the business, she's breaking kayfabe. But you got to remember, if WWE did not want this, did not sign off on this, it wouldn't be happening. They, because she's a contracted performer. I mean, if this was, think about it this way. If you're an employee and you show that level of insubordination towards your company and your boss, you're going to be out of a job. So, I'll say it again. Vince McMahon has said for years, no one person is bigger than the WWE. If somebody were to, flip like this and really kind of have these kind of outbursts towards the company and towards Stephanie and things like that, I don't think they would have cut her microphone off like they did with CM Punk with his when his pipe bomb promo went a little too far. And if Ronda was really, if this was really real, she could have easily hurt Becky Lynch with that beatdown she gave her on Monday. I mean, she basically could have, Becky would have ended up with broken ribs. She could have easily broken her arm with that arm bar. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to snap somebody's arm or pop their elbow out of joint or anything like that, but she didn't. She maintained that level of professionalism while, putting forth that, I really hate this crap. So, I think it's being played beautifully. Like I said, it's gotten people more emotionally invested in the storyline. It's made Ronda the number one heel in the company right now because people want to see her get her ass kicked. They want to see Becky beat the hell out of her and take that title off of her, and that's what an effective heel does. So I think this is a more natural position for Ronda working as a heel. That's the way it came across to me, and I'm actually excited to see where this is going to go now. So we've got couple of pay-per-views coming up. I'll get into Fastlane here in a minute, but wanted to talk a little bit about the Ring of Honor 17th anniversary shows coming up next week. There is it's a 2-night event. There's a pay-per-view and then a TV taping the next night. On the pay-per-view side, we're going to see a ROH tag team title match between the Briscoes and Villain Enterprises, Brody King and PCO. And the winners of that advance to the G1 Supercard WrestleMania weekend to go against the IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Gorillas of Destiny, on what's being billed as a winner-take-all match. So that match will be for both the ROH Tag Team titles and the IWGP Tag Team titles. So this one, I would pick the Briscoes. Briscoes versus Gorillas of Destiny. That's a huge match right there. Then we've got for the ROH World title, Jay Lethal defending against Matt Taven. Singles match between Bandito and Roosh. I would look for this match to steal the show. I mean, both of these guys are probably the top 2 luchadors in the world right now, I would venture to say. So that's definitely one to watch. Kenny King versus Marty Scurll. Mayu Iwatani versus Kelly Klein for the Women of Honor World title. Jeff Cobb defending the ROH World TV title against Shane Taylor. Team of Lifeblood, Mark Haskins and Tracy Williams versus the Kingdom, TK O'Ryan and Vinny Marseglia. And Jonathan Gresham versus Silas Young. Jonathan Gresham, probably the best pure wrestler on the indies right now. He's one I think should definitely get a shot in NXT. The only reason I can think that they might not give him that shot is because of his size. He is a relatively small guy, but the stuff he does in that ring is beyond amazing. So, I would personally love to see him in NXT, but for right now, he is tearing it up in Ring of Honor. And, if you've never seen Jonathan Gresham wrestle, he's another one. Go out of your way to see it, because he, to me, probably the best pure wrestler on the independent scene right now. So night 2 of the ROH 17th anniversary is a TV taping, and it's going to have a 6-man tag team championship match with the Kingdom defending against Villain Enterprises. Another great match with Bandito versus PJ Black. It should be another one probably going to steal the show there, those two guys. Then we've got a qualifying match for the NWA 2019 Crockett Cup, the Briscoe brothers versus Jeff Cobb and Willie Mack. Roosh versus Mark Haskins, Tracy Williams versus Kenny King, and Dalton Castle and the Boys versus the New Japan Young Lions, Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, and Alex Coughlin in a 6-man tag team match. So a couple of really good cards for Ring of Honor coming up next week. So now let's get into Fastlane coming up tonight. Looks like we've got 8 matches on the card, 1 on the kickoff show, and 7 on the main card. Kickoff show match is Andrade versus Rey Mysterio. This is a rivalry that's been going on for a little while with these guys, and there's been some rumors going around that they could possibly end up as a tag team going forward. So I'm wondering, if that's the case, how are they going to get there? Is it going to be a case where, maybe Selena Vega kind of interferes in the match, and Andrade splits from her and goes with Rey, or is it going to be the opposite? Could we see a Rey Mysterio heel turn? That would be interesting. I don't ever recall seeing Rey as a heel, maybe for a little while in WCW with the Filthy Animals faction, but so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But either way it goes, whether that's true or not, as far as them being a tag team, that's going to be a fantastic match. We've got a triple threat tag team match for the Raw tag titles. The Revival defending against Gable and Rude, and Aleister Black and Ricochet. This one, I mean, the tag team division in general, both Raw and SmackDown, I don't think has been given, enough attention. I mean, there's a little bit of a storyline there. I'm still not real keen on the tag team of Aleister Black and Ricochet, not because they're a bad team, but because I just think they, should get their own singles runs, both of them. Now there has been some online chatter about Black possibly turning on Ricochet, which would be great. The two of them would put on some fantastic matches. That'd be, I don't know if they would, have that turn happen tonight and give the two of them a WrestleMania match. I would definitely be in favor of that. If it's positioned right and they can build at least some kind of story between them between now and WrestleMania. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. On the SmackDown side, SmackDown Tag Team Championships, the Usos defending against The Miz and Shane McMahon. Definitely looking for the Usos to retain in this one. Rumor is that The Miz and Shane will be facing each other at WrestleMania, so look for one of them to make a turn. I would think probably tonight, if that's going to happen. And more than likely, I think it's going to be Shane making that heel turn, because the fans really seem to be behind Miz, so I don't think they're going to put him back to being a heel quite yet, although my opinion, I've stated many times, I think Miz is probably the best heel that the WWE has right now. Well, aside from Ronda Rousey, that is, but the rumor and innuendo is that it's going to be Shane McMahon making a heel turn. You're going to see Shane versus Miz at WrestleMania. Then we've got the Women's Tag Team Championship, Bayley and Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax and Tamina. I'm looking for Bayley and Sasha to retain the titles. I don't think they're going to take them off of them just yet. I mean, this is their first title defense, so I don't see them losing it just yet. And if the rumor about the WrestleMania Women's Tag Team match is true, it's going to be Bayley and Sasha defending the titles, so I'm looking for them to retain. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Asuka versus Mandy Rose. This is another one. Hasn't been a whole lot put into this storyline, which is really unfortunate. I mean, Asuka is kind of the odd man out in the women's division. Yes, I realize how ridiculous that sounded as soon as it came out of my mouth. The odd woman out in the women's division, because she is the SmackDown champion, and but more attention is being put on the Raw title at the moment because it's the top three women in the company, basically, in Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte. So Asuka's kind of, not being put in the best position, as champion. But I think her and Mandy are going to put on a good match. I definitely expect Asuka to retain, and hopefully this week on SmackDown they will start building, some type of story for her going into WrestleMania, because I think the SmackDown Women's title needs to be put in, a prominent position, just like the Raw Women's title. Now, the Raw Women's title is going to main event WrestleMania. I don't think there's too much doubt about that. But, there should be, just as much attention on the SmackDown title, because that title is on the best women's performer on SmackDown right now. So hopefully they start turning that around. And then we've got a 6-man tag team match with The Shield, Ambrose, Reigns, and Rollins versus Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. This one is kind of thrown together really, really fast with Roman's return. Of course, this is his official in-ring return. It's his first match since coming back. I don't know how I feel about the team of Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. I mean, individually, I like them all. But, I think Drew McIntyre is kind of getting lost in the shuffle here. He's one that, it seemed like was going to get pushed to the top of the card and put in, possibly in the Universal title picture, and now he's, doing 6-man and tag team matches and doesn't have a whole lot of spotlight directly on him. So, I mean, hopefully that'll change. Either leading up to WrestleMania or shortly after WrestleMania. Baron Corbin's another one. I think Baron Corbin is really underrated, and just kind of underutilized. I wasn't a fan of the whole GM thing with him, so hopefully once the whole thing with the Shield is over with, they can kind of revamp what's going on with these guys. I think Bruce Pritchard being back with WWE, I mean, and this is just my opinion, I think Bruce Pritchard has his fingerprints all over this Ronda Rousey storyline that's going on. I could be wrong. There's no evidence to back that up. This is me guessing. This is me, just freestyle and shooting from the hip here. It's my guess. But, it definitely seems like that's something that Bruce would, is smart enough to pick up on and say, okay, the fans are turning on her. We need to roll with this because we can make her the number one heel in the company right now, and that's exactly what happened. So, hopefully his creative influence can turn around some of these performers that are maybe not in the best position lately. As far as the Shield goes, like I said, the reunion was kind of forced, kind of rushed. I think they're trying to do it just to get Dean Ambrose back in a better spot. But supposedly, the whole Ambrose going on this losing streak and things like that was his idea. That's the rumor that's been floating around online to kind of, I don't know if garner sympathy for him would be the right way to put it, but this was his pitch to WWE Creative. So we'll have to see where it goes. I'm sure everybody knows by now, WWE has already announced that Ambrose is not signing a new contract, which is odd. I said it last week, normally you don't hear things like that until the person's gone and they get future endeavored. But, so I don't know, kind of have to see where it goes because it's kind of all over the place right now, with the Shield reunion, but then you've got Seth trying to, getting ready for his Universal title match, which has kind of been put on the back burner right now, which is kind of sad because that's supposed to be your top title. So I think, that should be where the emphasis is. But, I think the whole Shield versus Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley is more about getting Roman Reigns back in the ring. I think that's why that was, thrown together so quickly. And then what I think should be the main event tonight, I could be wrong. You could see the WWE title as a main event. Actually, let's talk about that one first. WWE Championship, Daniel Bryan defending against Kevin Owens. Now, the big story here is Kevin Owens was brought in as a replacement. This was supposed to be Kofi Kingston's match. And Vince McMahon pulled Kofi at the last minute at the contract signing and put Kevin Owens in his place. Kevin Owens kind of playing the babyface angle here, which is unusual because he's another one. I think he's just much better, much more natural as a heel. But this is all, hopefully, if the online buzz is correct, this is all to build Kofi up and kind of make him more of that sympathetic babyface that the company's trying to screw him over, kind of in the same vein as Becky Lynch, honestly. But this is all building towards Kofi finally getting his shot at the championship at WrestleMania, which great for Kofi to be put in a main event spot at WrestleMania for the top title. What should be the top title in the company, the WWE Championship. I would think Daniel Bryan would be retaining in this. I can't see them switching the title to Owens because then, you'd have Bryan in the mix unless they're going to go at WrestleMania with another triple threat match with Bryan, Owens, and Kofi. I don't particularly care for that idea. I'd rather just see Bryan versus Kofi for the WWE title at WrestleMania. So, but yeah, that was pretty much, this match is twofold. It's a spotlight position for Kevin Owens' return, and it helps to build Kofi's storyline and him working towards the championship. Now, getting into what I think should be the main event tonight is Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, and if Becky Lynch wins, she's added back into the Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. So I think that kind of speaks for itself. I think Becky's going to come out on top in this one, whether it's a clean win or whether it's a DQ or a count out, or maybe we see Ronda do a run in and just disrupt the whole match and it ends up as a no contest, and Stephanie just says, what, you brought this on yourself, Ronda, so you have to fight them both at WrestleMania. Any one of those things, but I think it's pretty well known. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Becky Lynch will be added back to that WrestleMania match. So, but it's Becky versus Charlotte. That's going to be a good match no matter how you slice it. So, I think this is the one that everybody's kind of watching tonight. This is the top storyline in the company right now around these three women. So, it makes sense that would be your main event for the Fastlane pay-per-view tonight. So that's pretty much all I got for this week. Hope everybody enjoys Fastlane tonight. I know I am going to. And, I'll be back next week with the results and everything, any new developments that happened throughout the week. Again, I want to thank everybody who's been listening, watching, subscribing on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you get your podcasts from. Thanks to everybody who's following on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, especially on Twitter. Like I said, we just broke 1,000 followers just yesterday, as a matter of fact, which is awesome. So thank you so much to everybody who's new to the show. Hope you enjoy it. And again, if you want to send me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. And next week I should have my very first interview. I will be talking to Cowboy Archie Coughlin. Now, this is a gentleman. He runs a website called Wrestling Behind Ringside. He's also got a podcast, and I had an interview with him a couple weeks ago. There was some technical issues on my end, and it didn't get recorded, which was my fault. So, but I believe I have those worked out, and I will be talking to Archie again next week, Saturday. So that will be part of the show that drops next Sunday. So I'm really looking forward to that. We had a really good chat last time. I was just devastated that I wasn't able to post it, because it was, for first interview, I think it went really well. So I'm hoping, I'm sure we'll have another great chat. Just it kills me that I couldn't get that first one on the show. But so next week, I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Again, his website is Wrestling Behind Ringside. Check it out. It's a really cool site. A lot of good stuff on there. So definitely give that a look. And again, that's next week. And again, thanks to everybody for following, listening. Hope everybody has a good week. If you're in Chicago next week on Friday, make sure to check out Warrior Wrestling 4. It's in Chicago Heights at Marian Catholic High School. Ran down the card earlier. Should be an awesome show. So if you can make it out, definitely check it out. Tickets are... there are still tickets available, and their ticket prices are just amazing. Their prices for their VIP package are amazing. So, if you're in Chicago or close to Chicago, come on out. It should be a great time. So that'll do it for this week. Hope everybody has a great work week, and I will talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.